Did you know how the photoshoot industry in weddings emerged? You will love this one. There are three types of marriages. Number one, void marriage. A void marriage is a union between a man and a woman that lacks form or substance. When a marriage union lacks both form and substance, that marriage union is called to be empty. The word void does not mean a big word. The word void simply means empty. In all of the law, what we are constantly looking at, regardless of the branch of law you look at, the courts and the people concerned are always looking for those two words, the appearance of those two words in any legal space, form and substance. In contract law, a form begins from a point of an offer. So in all of contracts, we are constantly looking at, does form exist in this contractual relationship? In a scenario whereby we don't have form, nor do we have the substance, in a contract relationship, a substance is the furnishing of consideration. Consideration simply means arguing, the bargain between the parties, how the parties arrived at what is mutually agreeable between the parties. So in any contractual relationship, we are constantly looking for form and we are constantly looking for substance. Where you can find neither form nor substance, that contract does not exist. The same with criminal space. In the criminal space, the form is always the guilty act. That guilty act that has been defined by a statute. Now, the substance of that crime is to the extent whereby that guilty act corresponds with the guilty mind. And that correspondence must happen at a point of law and a point of time. Where you don't have both, then a crime has not happened. So if we were to translate all this into void marriage, a void marriage is a marriage that lacks both the form and the substance. The second type of marriage is what we call a voidable marriage. A voidable marriage is a marriage union that has one of the two. This marriage can have a form of marriage, but it lacks substance. Or that marriage can have substance, but it lacks form. So the voidability, the ability to declare that marriage empty, relies on the party that will prove that that important consideration is supposed to be regarded as substance. In law, there is a very interesting case that is called the case of Dennis versus Dennis. In that case, a lady challenged her marriage owing to the size of the husband's penis. Regularly, lawyers term to this case as the case of penis versus penis. Did you know that there is a sufficient mark of what the law would regard as a sufficient penis? Because under the law, in the case of Dennis versus Dennis, the acceptable range of penetration was defined. Did you know that in itself can actually make a marriage to be voidable? When a woman can say the extent of penetration did not qualify. Now, in application of substance, then the courts will now apply the case of Dennis versus Dennis. What is the acceptable range of penetration? What is the acceptable threshold of a man's penis to be considered as that penis has met the legal requirement? So in the case of Dennis versus Dennis, this lady challenged her marriage, which was legitimate marriage, but because of what she was contesting, the courts agreed with her that the size of the husband's penis did not amount to the legal threshold of what would amount to what it's called acceptable penetration. The third type of marriage is the marriage that we call legitimate marriage. A legitimate marriage is a marriage union that has both substance and form, and they can be seen actively engaged. So where did the photoshoot industry emerge? In ancient times, when England was still under the Catholic Church, in one of the Catholic canons, it was important for a husband and a wife, after being declared man and wife, it was important that with that declaration, they have met form. But a marriage without the substance of marriage, that marriage can be nullified. So one of the lords of that time had broken up previously by his woman, by his girlfriend, his fiancée. But this gentleman did not oppose. There are 2 points whereby an individual can oppose a marriage. One point is when a priest, the person celebrating that union, says, is there anyone here with justifiable cause whereby these two people cannot be joined in holy matrimony? Only fools will raise their hands at that point. But there is another point whereby you can actually oppose and challenge successfully a marriage that has been declared. When the husband and the woman have been declared man and wife, it is important for them to consummate a marriage. That consummation is what it's called the substance of that marriage. Without the substance of that marriage, you can successfully contest and annul a marriage. And it is the reason why in ancient time, this Lord contested this marriage, that after these people had been declared man and wife, they straight went to the reception. So this person opposed and said, these two people are not to be regarded as man and wife because they have not consummated this marriage. Do you know what happened? They challenged that marriage and that marriage was annulled. So they had to redo it again. It's one of those things whereby we developed an industry around which, after we have been declared man and wife, you need to consummate that marriage within 3 hours of time. And that is why that entire space emerged, that people would excuse themselves and go take photos. When they are taking photos, we expect that you are coming back to join us at reception. You have consummated that marriage. That is how the wedding photoshoot industry emerged. It emerged so that as soon as a man and a woman have been declared husband and wife, they rush to perform that other important aspect that might not lead that marriage to be annulled. Voidable marriage. If you have ever broken up with someone, don't raise your hand at the point whereby the priest asks. Just raise your hand as soon as they have been declared, where they have not excused themselves to consummate marriage. Did you know that that was the purpose for photoshoot? So whenever you go for a photoshoot, the real meaning for photoshoot is for you to take time and consummate that marriage, and that window is always 3 hours. That is still the position of the law at canon law. When you want to contest a marriage, you can contest it at a point of these people have been declared, but they lack consummation of that marriage. Now that is useful information.